Hi guys, welcome to Straight News TV. Pre-season's over. Well, apart from one behind the doors 11 versus 11 head-on-head match that Louis Van Gaal's setting up for next week. But yeah, the end of the States has gone. United are back on English soil. I'm joined tonight by, you've seen them throughout the weeks of the tour, last 4 weeks. So we're going to start with Pasha, as always. Nice to have you on, pal.
I appreciate it, my man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys. Yeah, just chilling, and yeah, just 9 more days now until the season starts. Looking forward to it. Be ready for some banter from me, but yeah.
Yeah, I have been putting up on Facebook. It's only 9 more sleeps until I step back into Old Trafford, which Pasha keeps sending angry faces at.
Yeah, because I gotta change 2 planes before I come and see you guys. So you're just walking distance or getting a tram. So you gotta appreciate those little small things in life. But yeah.
Yeah, he's not walking distance. It might be from the office, but I am on the other side of Manchester here. Nate, how are we doing, pal?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on for this last one. Excited for the season to start.
Yeah, if you have noticed that Nate's actually, it looks like he's in the middle of some sort of grocery store. He's not. He's in some sort of strange Starbucks. I'm not entirely sure what's going on out there. But yeah, we're hopefully going to educate some Americans that are passing by while they're getting their Starbucks about United at the same time. I've got some really bad eyes on my hay fever. Jesus Christ. Tamzid's joined us. How are we doing, pal?
Great. Excited for the new season. Hopefully we get some new signings in too.
Yeah, and if he tweets a picture later that's me eating, then I'm going to have him. And last minute, Joey's joined us. Good to have you on, Joey. How are we doing, pal?
Good. Plans got rained out, but this is probably just as good or better. Some exciting things coming up. The kit launch. Hopefully, some transfers in 9 days.
Yeah, it's pretty much. It seems like, in actual fact, 9 days is probably going to go really slowly, and for what reason? Because there's just no football now. United, and we're not going to get that regular updates from United being on tour, or they're there, or they're there. We're just going to get nothing for the next 9 days, and then it's all going to happen. Unless Pedro comes in, Otamendi, maybe we might have found Di Maria in that time. Jesus. He's been lost as long as Madeline McCann, nearly. I'm not entirely sure if that's an appropriate joke that we should be putting in, but yeah, he seems to have disappeared. We found Rojo by the chance. He's finally found his way out of passport control at Manchester Airport, and he'll be back in training next week. I'm going to start on reviewing last night's show, last night's game, which would have been, in actual fact, less than last night for the guys over in the States. Less than 24 hours. That's why I'm looking like this, because 2 a.m. kickoffs I can't be dealing with. But let's have a quick review from each of you on this. Pasha, I've nearly kicked your cat. Pasha, what did you think of last night's game?
Simple as this, that we need a center back. Simple as that. Luke Shaw and Darmian were fantastic in my opinion. It was just a first half was decent. I mean, they were playing well, but PSG took their chance and that's why they won. Second half was horrid. I didn't see anything, and then people were freaking out, saying that now we can't be challenging Europe. When a couple of days ago we just beat Barcelona. Just people have no logic. So if we beat Barcelona, does that mean we're gonna win the treble? Like people on Twitter having a meltdown over preseason night. I mean, the most important thing was just trying to get these guys to play their fitness. But the game is simple as that. Thank you, Phil Jones and Daley Blind, that we need a center back. And simple as that. There's nothing else to really talk about. Just how impressive Darmian and Luke Shaw were, to be honest. Thankfully, we saw a lot of fight from Wayne Rooney, trying to make plays and stuff for himself, and that link-up play with Memphis Depay, which you could see why he might play in center forward behind Wayne Rooney. But once again, the second half started, and Pereira has just been probably the best youngster that has impressed me throughout the tournament, which I think everybody would probably agree with me on this one. He's been absolutely fantastic, and he's basically showing himself. Like Giggsy said, that these guys need to impress. They all have impressed, but Pereira has been just a top level above all of them. He wants it, and basically that's what you want to see. So it'll be interesting to see where Pereira is going to play. So far, it looks like he's just going to play left wing, but nonetheless, it was a disappointing performance. I expected a little bit more, but thank you, Phil Jones. We need a center back, and speaking of Di Maria, he might be joining ISIS, but that might not be the case. So at least I think he's off to PSG, but we'll see.
Yeah, we've sort of you've touched on quite a few number of players here. I'm going to have to stretch this out very lightly across the rest of them, because otherwise we're just going to be telling about the same points. Any disappointments from last night for you, Tamzid, in terms of performance from anybody?
Disappointments, I would say that Blind and Jones have been a big disappointment. I would have expected Jones to grasp his chances a bit more. Blind is not really a center back, so you can't really blame him for what has happened. I think Bengali is trying to see if he can shoehorn Blind into the team somehow, because he likes his tactical abilities and his passing skills a little bit more, I guess. So he's trying to increase his center back options and also trying to see if he can play Blind a little bit more. But other than that, Phil Jones looked like he had stones attached to his feet and he barely could run for the second goal. His positioning was awful, and I really wished he took that next step like Smalling did last season, and they would have made a decent pair if we don't bring in another center back. But if we don't bring a center back in, it would be gross malpractice to not buy a established center back in that defense to get that leadership and experience to lead the heart of defense. So those were the two major disappointments for me.
Yeah, I was going to sort of touch on this Phil Jones, because I tweeted about him actually just finished. He was just ball watching most of the time, and obviously Ibrahimovic's goal. Right. Where's Ibrahimovic gone? Because he wasn't even bothering to see where he was. He was just watching him. He was watching where the ball had gone. Blind, like you say, I think it's a really strange one. I think he's had to put Blind in there because he doesn't trust a centre-back pairing of Jones and Smalling. He doesn't trust that. And if Rojo had got his passport sorted, Rojo may have played in that position. So that may be why we've seen Blind put in there, because he's got nobody else to put in there. So I just thought it was a really strange sort of, why would you put Blind in there? We've seen him play at left back pretty well. Luke Shaw, Jesus Christ, he started a run off last night, and I didn't think he was going to stop until he hit the back of the net with the ball at his feet still. And I was just, where's this come from? So him and Januzaj's taking the physio with them to Dubai, who's absolute worked a treat. Nate, we've touched on a couple of the youngsters there. Anyone that really sort of, apart from Pereira, that stood out for you? For instance, Darmian, obviously he's still young, he's only 25, but is he another one of those players that we'd like to see him step up to the game last night? Because I didn't think he did anything wrong at all.
No, I don't think he's almost been perfect the whole tour, all 4 matches. I mean, getting him in, obviously him, Schneiderlin, and Schweinsteiger kind of in that weekend right before they took off, I think is going to really prove key coming into the beginning of the season with Darmian, and then Shaw obviously this summer deciding he was going to, I don't know, go on a diet, whatever it was, get stronger, quicker, but kind of some of those pieces we saw. And yeah, Darmian's 25, but he's young, and Shaw's obviously young, and I think we're kind of building that squad. You know, Memphis is young, and Shaw. I do hope we get a chance to see Lingard and Januzaj and Pereira obviously this season. I think bringing those guys in could really help in a lot of the competitions, because we're not going to be able to obviously field the same 11 if we're trying to push and compete on 4 different levels for trophies. So being able to field some of these guys that really did show, and even last summer it seemed like we had Lingard had a great tour last summer as well, so I'd really like to see him given a shot. And then I thought it was pretty cool to see Sean Goss come on right at the end, get 10, 15 minutes. I saw somewhere that his family had traveled to the U.S., and so getting him to see, making his debut, getting to see him out there, I thought that was really good. So I do think we've got a good set of young guys. Maybe Darmian could be the leader of the young guys because that guy, maybe it's just because we've been starved of right back beauty and tacticalness and anything for a while. But watching Darmian has been unbelievable, and watching Shaw opposite him has been, it's just been great. So get us some center backs. We've got youth. We've got young guys that can play, and I think we could have an excellent squad for this year. And then next year, we should be pushing for every trophy we can.
Yeah, it was good to see Goss come on. Like you mentioned, his parents and family flew out to see him make his debut. Going back to the time when Wilson scored against Hull when he made his debut, and his parents were in the stand then. So it is really good that United get the families involved in that way to watch debuts, especially at first team level. Great experience for him. PSG, that's a note for his memory for the rest of his life. I made my top United debut against PSG. Doesn't matter where it was or what it was. He played there and got 10 minutes game. Joey, the strange one that's come. I'm going to come on to you on a bit. Two subjects. Memphis last night. I didn't think he did too badly. He was here, there, and everywhere. Sort of created and half created, and then didn't create at times. And then also, I wanted to some one of the lads have picked up on here was the fact we started with Schweinsteiger and Carrick. Now, both of those guys, to me, are too similar. The Carrick seemed to disappear into Schweinsteiger's back pocket almost because he was that close to him in relation. Would you have liked to have seen possibly Herrera come on instead for him?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you saw Carrick and Schweinsteiger both getting in each other's way. They both want to do the same thing. They both want to come and drop to the back four, pick the ball up, dictate the pace of play, and they are very similar. But it's strange because last season he had the center defensive midfielder in Carrick, and then he had a box-to-box player. And it seems like with those two, and even in the 4-2-3-1, he's having two defensive midfielders so that the front four can be more free. So it will be interesting. I would have liked to see Herrera play more, and I really hope that, I know Van Gaal didn't specifically buy him, and he did sanction the deal and everything, but there was periods where he had him on the bench last season, and, for me, he was one of our most impressive midfielders last year, probably most important behind Carrick. So I hope that he does play some more creativity, or he lets Schweinsteiger have a more advanced role. I think that would be all right. Because you've seen, for Bayern Munich, Schweinsteiger playing that box-to-box, even as a creative number 10. And then speaking about Memphis, for me, it was like maybe he was trying too hard to find Rooney, too hard to try and pick the ball up and run at players instead of playing with his teammates. He had some really, really fancy flicks that came off and looked really well. So for that, you just want to see him build the chemistry. And there's so many questions, especially from United fans. We've seen him play as a number 7 out wide for PSV, and that seemed his best position. So moving him centrally to a number 10, is that going to suit him? Especially when you have Mata, who's being played out of position on the right wing, who some think is probably our best creative number 10. So it'll be interesting. There's still a lot of questions. Speaking about Darmian, he's fantastic. He's going to be, the real deal. And the thing I like about him is he has a injury record that is pretty clean. Hopefully, knock on wood, that doesn't change. But he's a guy that can stay healthy and can play a full season and not be in the training room or the injury table. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a good overall. Overall, I think we sort of possibly maybe didn't perform right at the end, and there was a lot in the commentary about the travelling in between the matches and United literally having only a little bit of turnaround time, literally between landing in Chicago and playing. So that possibly was the end of it. But as soon as that second goal went in, you sort of went, well, here's the time to test our character in this game. and really have a bit of a show and show some sort of intent for the season. And we didn't actually do that, really. We kept levels of possession of the ball up. And yeah, Darmian intercepted twice. Zlatan, he was clear. He pretty much played a sweeper. It was good to see Sam Johnston come on as well. I thought De Gea coming off was basically because he wasn't going to come for that ball, knowing that was supposed to be Jones or Blind's to clear up that when they tried putting the ball over the top. That didn't happen. Bring on Johnston, who's been sharp all pre-season, straight off his line, starts clearing balls off left, right, and centre. Nearly got caught out in one. And Darmian, I can't remember who it was, who cleared it off the line pretty easily when he was trying to chip him. But I just thought it was maybe that was why the Gea came off and not because he didn't look interested or he made a mistake or just basically because it worked to have a sharper goalkeeper who was quite willing to run out and pick up the balls that Jones was fumbling around with and not paying attention at. We're going to move back right to the start. I'm going to ask the guys, so that's sort of like general sort of questions that we have. Obviously, we started with a 1-0 win against Club America. At the time, I think most of us watched the first half basically just to watch the new signings. Darmian impressed. Snidely. Snidely. I'm going to have to get these confused all the way through next season. But yeah, Snidely started the game and he was all over the place. We was all excited to see where he pop up next and take the ball off someone. I can't. It was who else was it that started? No, Memphis started and didn't get his goal, but he tried a couple of times, and we were more sort of excited by his creativity than we were about the fact he didn't finish a game. So on that note, going back to that 1-0 win, Pasha, would you say that was possibly a good start for a pre-season? But also on a point, were we more interested to see how the new signings bedded in rather than as a team in a whole recently?
Yeah, I feel like as fans, we always are more excited. We tend to much more focus on our new signings opposed to the other people, just because of the hype that we have new signings, and just to get ourselves more into a role of okay. I watched Darmian before, even for when he used to play for not all the time. Especially the more I looked at it, I was just like, it's just great. And as we've seen, Schneiderlin was the engine of Southampton, and we've seen how influential he is. And it goes throughout this preseason, as the guys pointed out. Schweinsteiger needs to be played either with Schneiderlin or Hera. It can't be without Carrick because they're not mobile enough. Some of that has to do with the dirty work and stuff. But nonetheless, for me, honestly, the signings, yes, they're all fantastic. But for me, the most impressed me the most is Luke Shaw. He had a tough season last year, but his intention to, after the season, to go to Dubai with Januzaj, to get his fitness up, to come back, and to show that, yes, boss, I'm back, and I want to be, your future left back for the decade. I want to show that you paid 30 million quid for me, this investment for long term. I want to show that, and we've seen his intent. You just had that run yesterday. It just felt like Messi was just going, and that's what you want to see. You could see that he's playing for the badge, and I wanted him to keep this up. When Louis van Gaal doesn't really give a lot of people credit, this is the person he is. When he says this is his season, this is Luke Shaw's season, it just goes on that he trusts the kid. And for me, throughout this whole tournament or preseason, Luke Shaw has been my favorite player. Because the way this kid has gone about to go to Dubai shows intent that he wants to be the best there is. So he comes back to show that he's known to be one of the best. And the kid's 20 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So he's many years to come, and I'm looking forward to him. And I'm really glad to see how driven he is, and that goes for that. And the signings have all been brilliant, but we just need to just to see what the system is going to do now when the season starts. Where's Schweinsteiger? There's a lot of questions still need to be asked. Maybe he's playing mind tricks with Pochettino, because we really don't know why he didn't really change the formations and stuff. Just a 4-2-3-1. But once again, it's Louis Van Gaal. He might be playing mind games with Pochettino. Right now, we don't know why Jones might start over Smalling when Smalling hasn't been good. So, once again, it was just preseason, and I'm just really happy. For me, it was Luke Shaw. That's a player of the tournament for me.
Yeah, I was going to go into sort of like play with the tournament. I mentioned it to Pasha before we started, actual fact. So on that note, and moving on to the San Jose Earthquakes match, Tamzid, we won 3-1. We saw it as, I wouldn't say it was more of a feisty occasion, but we got the job done. Unfortunately, conceded the goal. But is that overall what we would have expected from a second game on tour?
Yeah, I think it was a very
opposition.
Yeah, I think it was a very good improvement from build. It was a good build-up from the first game. Van Gaal started with a similar team that he started off with Club America, so that was good to see. Players getting a good run in. Juan Mata had a really good game. He was adjudged man of the match at the end. Pereira, when he came into the second half, he looked outstanding. He was highly impressive in that game. And United looked a lot more fluid in attack after the first game coming into the second match as well. So that was a good positive to take away. We scored some goals. Depay got on the score sheet. Pereira got on the score sheet. So those were all good to see, and there were good signs, and there was a good build up to the Barcelona match. So it was definitely an improvement from the first game. It was more fluid in attack, and the movement and passing was much better.
I can't really disagree with any of those points, really. That was a sort of strange thing. I actually thought after those two matches, is Louis Van Gaal going to keep this whole, there's an 11 for one half, there's an 11 for the next half, and do that throughout the entire tour? And we saw in the Barcelona match, as I'm going to move on to that next, we sort of saw that as he moved it, and he said after 60 minutes, then he made the whole squad change. We didn't see that last night, but although I thought he was actually supposed to only make 3 substitutions last night, in actual fact made in the end, was it 5 or 6? But yeah, Nate, how would you rate those two matches, the San Jose match and then the Barcelona match? Obviously, we come away with a 3-1 win in the end for both matches, but is that really a sort of level that you would expect us to be at, including the fact that we played and got very lucky at times against Barcelona?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we did get lucky, and it was just the opposite with PSG. We could have easily scored at the beginning and been up, and Barcelona could have easily scored against us at the beginning. So, that's football really when it comes down to where those goals get knocked in and the timing sometimes of how it is. Because had we scored against PSG, then the game probably goes a lot differently, and we maybe see more goals than just 2 from PSG. But in Barcelona match, I thought I was most excited to kind of see, is the 11 that Van Gaal had been using for the first 2 matches, is that who he's really feeling out like he's going to start for Spurs? And so obviously when we saw the starting 11 and we knew Schweinsteiger wasn't going to be playing, I was kind of wondering myself, how serious is Van Gaal about this? Is he pushing ahead to Pochettino, like Pasha was saying? Is he just trying to get things going in people's minds, And then last night, of course, he says in his press conference that, I used the 4-2-3-1, but I'm going to use my preferred 4-3-3, and we're going to do this season that way. So with Van Gaal, I'm never sure if he's being serious, if he's just trying to, take the piss on something to try to get whoever might be listening to look one way while he's doing something different. So the Barcelona match was a great match. The second half, when we pulled 11 guys off the field after 60 minutes, I thought, oh, great, here we go, Barcelona's going to come in. And then, Pereira and Lingard and those guys just decided to take over and score a couple of goals, and suddenly, we're up. And we finished the match really well. And obviously that was probably the highlight match of the tour for all of us, and maybe even non-Manchester United fans, just because, like last summer, we played Madrid, won by the same scoreline. Madrid had been the European champions. Barcelona was European champions. So it was an interesting match overall, and I think it was a good test for our guys, but I was still only looking for fitness. I was looking for link-up play. I was looking for formation, and I was looking for who LVG favors as his players. And so I'm hoping that he's totally taking the piss with Blind and Jones and all this stuff, and he already knows who he wants to start, and he's going to go 4-3-3. Memphis will be on the wing, and we're going to head and just go in and tear up Spurs.
Yeah, we could be doing the same sort of thing in the transfer market, just sending people one down one lane and coming in right. Well, most of the transfers have actually been quite kept well under the people's hats, and actual fact, come as quite a surprise at times. You know, it's been rumoured in the press, and the press can say anything, but it's not highly likely to happen. And the press do actually get a big whiff where they all come out and say something, and within hours that's what's happened. So yeah, I think that's been superb. United, if he's tactically doing that in the season, that's superb as well. Joey, we're going to go sort of onto your player of the tournament, and we can go back down the line and ask the lads. Who has been your player of the tournament? Who would you pin that on?
Oof. I mean, it's hard to argue with Pasha with Luke Shaw. I mean, I think he's been fantastic. He's gotten forward. He's defended well. He's looked fit, like you were saying earlier, with him coming in, taking the trainer on tour with him on his holidays and making sure that he was in tip-top shape. Because I think it is a big year for Luke Shaw. I agree with Louis Van Gaal. But other than him, I think Sam Johnstone has kind of impressed me. I wasn't expecting that from him. With Victor Valdez not wanting to buy into the philosophy of having to play in the reserve matches and whatnot, I think Sam Johnstone has had a couple nice saves. He's distributed the ball pretty well, and I think that he might figure into Van Gaal's plans maybe somewhere down the road. Obviously not this season. I expect him to go on loan. But as for player of the tour, yeah, it's got to be Luke Shaw. But I will say Andres Pereira has impressed me. The one thing I do like about Pereira is his crossing. I think that it's nice to see a player on the wing who can cross the ball. Usually we have to get stuck with Valencia coming down from fullback and doing that, and sometimes not even crossing it. But yeah, Pereira's ability to find a man in the box and create space for himself. He's got a few tricks about him. He's got a little bit of pace. So just to be different from Pasha, I'll just say Pereira.
No, you don't have to be different from Pasha. Everybody's different from Pasha, for God's sake. Pasha's different from Pasha. Nate, go on then. Let's have your player of the tour.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was doing my review video for my Reds of the World channel last night, I said that my player of the tournament was Shawmian, which is just Darmian and Shaw. I just thought those guys together as right back and left back, two positions we've just struggled with. It was brilliant to see both of them do really well. Darmian, who no one knew we were going for, everyone thought it was Klein. I mean, we all had our picks, even those we didn't want to come in, and Darmian gets ushered in. So Luke Shaw, Matteo Darmian, I got to go with both of them because they both showed what it's like and what it should be like to play those positions. Couldn't be more excited going into the season with these two guys, on right back and left back. So those are my two.
Yeah, I'm starting to pick up a trend at the moment with these fullbacks, and mine would be a fullback as well at the moment. Tamzid, we didn't mention it in yours before when we talked. Any different from the other guys in terms of a player that's really stood out on tour for you?
I don't think it's really stood out, but Rooney has been really good in terms of how he's been linking up with Depay. He also has looked fitter and sharp up front. He's the only established striker that we have right now up front, and he needs to score at least like 25, 30 goals for us to win anything really next season. So as long as he stays fit and is able to reach his peak form, then he should be fine. So I think he looked really good, we haven't really seen him in that lone striker and being the focus of the team in a long time. So whenever he has played that role, he has scored goals for us. So we really will need him to perform next season if we don't buy a striker, and I think it's a good sign. He showed some good signs being sharp and being able to link up play and being able to, create some havoc around the box. So he looked really sharp and really good in the last game as well. So that was really good.
Yeah, so I actually had a conversation with someone, and I'm not entirely sure if he's a United or City fan. I was at football training earlier about how he played, and the fact that as much as Memphis runs about and is quite creative and his flicks and his tricks do come off, you can actually see a bit more of a spark in Rooney, in the fact that he wants to be a bit more creative. He wants to get on the end of crosses. There were a couple of crosses that he got on the end of, and his first touch wasn't too bad. Now, there have been times where the ball's pinged at him and it comes off him like it's just hit a blooming cargo ship or something. Just goes flying off down the other end of the pitch. But he did keep a couple of them down in control, and if that's because he's got more enthusiasm to play and because he's got a player that he wants to play with, then that's only good for the season. And I can't remember who I was having a conversation with, in actual fact. Oh, it was Simo. Me and Alex Simo were having a conversation on Twitter last night about United needing to go out and buy someone to help Rooney. And there's obviously the talks of Pedro coming in. United could just bring a complete, bunny rabbit out of the hat and bring in somebody else up till like whatever it is, September 1st, September the 2nd, when the window shuts. They could do that. That's not a problem. But Indepay and Rooney, if those both got 15 to 20 goals plus each, then that 30, 40 goals that we need for to really strike in a season is actually there already in the team. And not only that, is then you've got Masuo chipping with goals, you've got Herrera chipping with goals, Young could possibly chip in with goals. I don't even see why that Darmian can't be assisting in goals, or Shaw, especially the way that them two keep bombing forward at the moment. Schweinsteiger, if you push him a bit further up, he can bring you goals. So there's a lot of more sort of plenty options in there. So I think overall, we're not doing too badly, despite the absolute horrendous two centre backs that we had on last night. And overall, I think that's quite key. I've been more impressed with United going forward than defensively. And when I say that, I mean in a way that United are actually more offensively better than they were last year. We look like we're more fluid in play. We're getting in behind teams. We're playing into channels. We're just picking people up a lot easier than what we were. So I'm really impressed with that. My player has to be Darmian. He started off at one level, and by last night he'd reached this level. And he did go a bit quiet when he moved to left wing, but after playing on the right wing with Mata and had that link up, then you are going to change when there's someone there. One of you have sent me there is a comment in the comments box that Pasha's highlighted to me a question. Now we're going to find it. Bear with me a second. I hope he's took a picture I can actually read. Chris has asked, how hung up is Louis van Gaal on having one of his centre-backs left-footed? And is this something, I've spotted in the comments box below, is something to do with Otamendi being right-footed? Pasha, you've been reading through the comments. Can you bring us up to speed on what's been going on there, pal?
I mean, the question was from Chris, how hung up is Van Gaal and having one of his centre-backs being left-footed? I mean, it goes back to his philosophy. I mean, every manager is different. As we all know, that he likes a right-footed and left-footed combination. Now, there's been a massive debate as why shouldn't Rojo start against Tottenham. People need to remember that this guy Copa America just finished, and there's a difference between being fit and there's a difference between being match fit, right? He could be fit, but he's not match fit, and the only person that could play there is Daley Blind. As Joy has texted it, put it in the comment box, and the guy's a utility person. He could play center back, left back, or in the center mid. So as of now, he likes Jones and some left-footed person. And the only person that could do that for us is Daley Blind. And this goes back to how unbalanced the squad is because we have more left-footed players, than right-footed. But at the same time, it's mostly in our defense, it's just all right-footed players. And then the thing with Otamendi is Otamendi's right-footed. So If Daley Blind most likely is going to start, but it's just Louis Van Gaal's philosophy. He just likes it right and left-footed. There's no reason. He's never said the reason why, but that's just a balance to him. But yes, in the past we've seen that it's Rio and Vidic were both right-footed. But once again, every manager is different. But right of as now, it seems like Daley Blind is going to start against Tottenham because the Copa America just finished. Marco Rowe is on vacation. He might be fit, but he's not match fit. That's why Daley Blind is going to start. Simple as that. There's no argument about that. And unfortunately, I don't want that to happen because Harry Kane or Christian Eriksen could easily open that gap with them. But once again, we need a center back and we need a bully like Otamendi, could intimidate with that beard of his. We need a bastard, and that bastard is Otamendi. But there's another player that I've watched for Athletic Bilbao, Laporte, which has a 50 million release clause. He's left-footed. He's too young, but he has potential. But once again, I think he's going to start Daley Blind and Jones most likely. But once again, he could just be bluffing Pochettino, might not giving direct what he wants to do. And we know every manager has their own mind games, but that might just be it. But I don't exactly know what the philosophy is, but it's just simple as this. He just wants a right and left-footed combination. That's it.
I'm glad we went into that in-depth conversation with Pasha and Matt for combinations and philosophy. It's all about Louis van Gaal. Now, actually, going back to those comments, well, I apologise to Chris, who we should now nickname Mike, as everybody, and Joey mentioned it in the comments as well, everybody it's Mike is Mike and Mike is Mike too, and Chris is Mike, and there's confusion everywhere about who's Mike. But yeah, we were actually talking about the guy in the chat, not Chris, as in Mike Smalley, which I think is quite highlighting. I'm going to go on to these in actual facts. I'm going to finish on these highlights of the tour. Have got to be what the hell Louis van Gaal has been up to, including calling players the wrong name, giving evils to Stuart Gardner at press conferences. Talking of press conference, the one after the San Jose game, not the one after the Barcelona game, in actual fact, in the cupboard, the tiniest cupboard. There's been some absolute memorable moments. We send our best wishes to Lou Macari. Obviously, Jonathan met after the Club America game. We hope that he's doing all right. He can't see out of one eye. Jesus. So yeah, without Parry Kerrand, the tour's been absolutely full of highlights, which has been quite great to watch. I'm gonna on that note, I'm gonna end in a minute, but we're gonna go back through the panel. Tamzid, a highlight of the tour, anything and everything.
Highlight of the tour would be the new signings. Schneiderlin has been, the Schneiderlin-Schweinsteiger midfield has been really good. I think it'll be interesting to see how Van Gaal employs Carrick, Schneiderlin, Schweinsteiger, Herrera, or Mata in midfield. So that'll be very exciting to see. Plus the formation he plays. I know we played 4-2-3-1, and he likes the variety of having a midfielder move up beyond the striker. So if he ends up playing 4-3-3, we'll see what combination he plays. But other than that, the other thing key to watch out for would be who the center back pairing is going to be. So playing Blind in center back position is definitely eye-opening, and we hope we don't get to see that during the actual season. But other than that, it's been a good preseason tour, I think, and hopefully we don't start the way we did last season, and hopefully we start winning some games and we start confidently in the first 10 games.
Yeah, I think that's quite key, really, isn't it? We looked at last season's 10, 11 games and came away with, what was it, 13 points to what was a similar pre-season tour, a really good sort of positive sort of pre-season tour, and then went and sort of had a crap, sort of really slow start for the season. Pasha, let's have a highlight of tour, anything and everything, corner kicks.
I'm gonna make this funny one. Corner kicks. I mean, yeah, Phil Jones has been taking corner kicks. That's the god of that. No, it's just Louis van Gaal messing with the press as always. The guy absolutely does not give one single fuck who you are. He'll make sure that you just look stupid in front of him. It's always Louis van Gaal, is the way he talks. But on a serious note, Luke Shaw, hands down, has been amazing. Credit to him.
Cool. I thought you was going to say pants down for a minute then. Steady on, pal. Nate, let's have a highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to choose from, but for me, I think it was seeing the Ed Woodward interview, just like last season. If you only read about him on Twitter, you can never quite know who he is, and he must either be the best guy ever or the worst guy ever. Like, you just never know. So getting a chance just to see him talk and be reminded, that he is in a really tough job. He has a lot of responsibility on the football side, as well as the business side. So just getting to see him talk about the club, see how he's a fan too, how he wants to see us back winning trophies, all of that stuff. So knowing that the guy who's running stuff is a fan and he's ready to see us back at the top, that made me excited. So that was my highlight.
It's quite a good one, actual facts. I watched that interview, and it's like you say, I think it's the second time he's ever done like an interview. And people will. He bought a Schweinsteiger, and the next day he was up there with Jesus for some reason. People was hoping that he was going to start peeing wine, and he couldn't do anything wrong. That whole goes downhill when some sort of strange transfer rumour comes up and doesn't happen. But yeah, he's. If we go back to it, he was never brought into the club for the role that he does now, and he's gradually had to grow into that role. But yeah, when you listen to him, he's quite easy to listen to and to figure out who he is as a person. And I know a couple of colleagues of mine have met him in person over fan issues and stuff like that. They seem to get a good relationship with him at the moment. One day I may get to meet him, and I've got to plug my way up the United inroads a bit yet. But yeah, it was quite a sort of interesting sort of intake to have on a pre-season tour. Last but not least, Joey, give us a highlight.
All right, I actually have two. They're both from last night's game. The first one was watching Luke Shaw break ankles when it kind of just stopped, and then PSG kept going with three players. I thought that was pretty comical for me. And the second one was the dip on that Memphis free kick. Obviously, it was safe, but the way the ball dropped out on the bottom was crazy. I can't, take free kicks at Old Trafford. He'll always be a threat for goal when he's close to the area.
Yeah, I really forgot about that Luke Shaw incident last night. It was quite hilarious. He just stopped, went back the other way, and all three of them just went off in one direction. Thought someone had lubed up the fucking pitch. Just disappeared. Quite good. Pasha's have made me aware of another couple of comments in the box. We could be here for hours if I keep doing this. It's not from Mike, is it? Pasha, you're going to have to intervene.
It's from Mike Smalley.
So it's from Mike Smalley.
It's just
Is he asking to play? Because I'm not the man to sort of really to...
the question was if Januzaj has the potential to be a striker for us this season.
I suppose that's actually a good question. Why didn't we think of that? Yeah, he's been touted as he's supposed to be playing into that role. He played in there 2 or 3 games that I've seen him play there. He got a couple of opportunities. He missed them just by the post, and I just thought, is this going to be another frustrating season if he does get to play there? But he finishes one against Barcelona quite coolly. Takes it round the defender, who again was slipping on his ass, and finishes it quite nicely. So yeah, I think that's quite a good highlight there from whichever one of you's commented on the box. I'm going to finish right here, but not before telling you about quality content coming up from me, minus my eyes. I'm surprised we've not any comments about me being stoned or something strange. Actually suffering from hay fever despite it being only about 15 degrees here in Manchester. Absolutely crap weather. But yeah, some great content coming up. Sunday night, we're back, 9 o'clock show, and I can't wait. Whole season preview coming up on Sunday night. Yeah, absolutely tuned in for that. That's going to be superb. Then from then on, from Monday, we're going to start telling you when our show is going to be for the rest of the season. So make sure you subscribe so that you know when to catch us, because that's going to be immense. All going to be regular content content throughout the season. Some absolute great stuff. We've had some Man United tactics coming on to do some brilliant stuff for review shows. So we're going to get some proper insight into tactics for reviews. We're going to have the usual panels on here, there, and if we're going to see Serge back eventually when he finishes taking his bride down the aisle. And that's not a euphemism, I mean when he gets married. Or for, we'll see Dale back. Ben, unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure we're going to get him back. Some people asked in the comments right at the start of the show if Ben was going to be on. He's over in Dubai, just about setting up with his stuff and his work, and he's getting quite busy. He's started working on a couple of other. Make sure you go and follow him at Ben Speech to catch out what he's doing. But hopefully we'll have him on at some point at the stage of the season. I'm going to finish off by thanking the guys on the panel, Tamzid, Pasha, Joey, and Nate, and everybody else that's joined us throughout this pre-season Reds in America stuff. It's been great to have you all on, get some American perspective on it. Like I said, Sunday, 9 o'clock, we're back, and the whole of the season starts from there on here on Stretty News. So make sure you subscribe with the button in the corner, and we'll see you then. Bye.